now. We're still, because that's kind of our jobs. But at the end of the day, this is 100%, in my opinion, on the coaching staff as a whole.
Yep. I totally agree. Totally agree. So anything else with the defense? That's all I really had for my notes, or those were the big things that I saw.
That covers it, because there's the game plan. There were so few possessions that there's not a whole lot, to get, because it was kind of a redundant thing, possession after possession, because they were holding the ball 9 minutes. I think they only had the ball 7 or 8 possessions apiece. It was, not the typical where we've been having 15, 16, 17 possessions per game, where we've been scoring 35, points or so.
Yeah, that game just flew by. I couldn't even believe. I'm like, holy cow! It's already halftime.
It got done at like 7:12 or something like that. It was fairly early.
It flew by. So moving on.
Well, we can take we will move on, and I will let you do another teaser. We'll take our last little short break here and then finish out the show.
Yeah, so coming back after the break, we're going to talk about the special teams. There actually were some notes that I've got for the special teams. Talk about the MVPs of the game. Take a couple questions that we might have gotten online or via text or Twitter. Talk about the around the league, some of the other things that happened today, and then we'll give you our final thoughts. But why don't you take that away then, Jay?
And if you haven't had enough of our banter tonight, you want to visit NFL Addictions on Facebook.com for all of your NFL banter and chatter. It's not a trash talk site, so keep it clean and keep it cordial. That's NFL Addictions on Facebook.com. And if you still got an itch to scratch when you're done with that, you want to visit Raz Addictions on Facebook.com for their version of the raffle for all kinds of cool prizes, even a chance at winning some cash. You buy a $10 raffle ticket for a chance at winning $100. That's a chance at making 10 times your money. It don't get any better than that. That's Raz Addictions on Facebook.com for a chance at all kinds of cool prizes. Tell them what you've won, Dave.
I've won everything from tailgating barbecue sets. That I have a Packers one that I won, folks, for $400. I put $40 down on the spot. I won it, and it was out of 20 spots. It's really worth it. I've also won helmets that are signed. I've won banners that are signed. I've won memorabilia rings. I've won footballs that are signed and other Packers knickknacks because that's my team. But go ahead and check them out. Cheap, affordable prices for certified, authentic stuff.
That's Raz Addictions on Facebook.com. Go there, play, and win. And as always, you can follow us on Twitter at First and Goal Pod, myself at UPJ33, Dave is at Steak and Cheese, and the fantasy wonder himself, Dylan, at DylanBusby1. Email us at firstandgoalpodcast@yahoo.com with all your football and Packer questions and comments, and you just might find yourself making the show live. That's firstandgoalpodcast@yahoo.com. All right, and that brings us back off a break there, and it is time to break down the special teams. So what do you got for us, Ryan?
Not a lot of times do we actually have notes on special teams, but in this game, there are some. So first and foremost, the biggest thing is Tremon Smith as a returner. I feel much better with him back there. Granted, he really only had one, decent kick return. But the reason why I feel better about him is, one, he actually has some speed, and he's got the ability to get north and south. The problem is, and this has been an issue for years with our special teams, it's the blocking. It's the return blocking. When he gets a punt, and it should be a punt that, in my mind, as a former punt returner, former kickoff returner, that when he fields, he should be able to get some pretty decent return yardage. And the fact that he catches it and that he doesn't, that's on the blocking. A punt returner, I saw this on Twitter. Someone tweeted this out, CD Angeli, or however you say it, and I totally agree with what he said. He took the words right out of my mouth, so I didn't even have to tweet it. I just retweeted it. But typically that punt returner, once you field that ball, if it's going to not be fair caught, you need to be able to make one guy miss, and once you make him miss, there should be blocking set up where you should be then able to get a decent amount of yards. We have yet to see that. And we have not seen that type of return ability in a while in our Packers special teams. And that is got to change. Like, something's got to happen. I don't know whether it's they got to get different personnel out there. They got to change the scheme up or whatnot. I think we've got someone back there now that, knows what they're doing. I feel pretty comfortable with them as return men and Tremon Smith. We got to get the blocking straightened out. Other things, though. So we're going to let a blocked punt happen in this game. We're going to have, an offsides when they make a field goal, which then they decline, which you can question whether or not you should do it at that point. But they felt confident in themselves, and they score a touchdown. So we literally take 3 points off and give them 7 instead because of an offsides. Just penalties on special teams. I feel like even if we do get a return on special teams in the past historically, you're looking around because there's probably going to be a yellow flag on the field because that happens all the time. We even had one today with Jamal Williams having a penalty flag on a return. It's just the special teams. We've been talking about how this team is balanced, right? Like, we've been winning in all the different phases and whatnot. Well, that added to another phase of the game today because none of the other two worked. I guess special teams just wanted to follow suit because they failed epically today as well. It's just nothing going right. I mean, getting a blocked punt, you just can't have that. When we're struggling on offense and defense is holding them to field goals, and then now we're going to give them a short field again at the 30-some yard line, you just can't have those types of things happen. And so the only positive was that Mason Crosby actually nailed a 54-yard field goal and looked pretty confident in doing that. That's the only bright side on special teams. All the rest, just not good. But I am glad, that we at least have a return man on both kickoff return and punt return that I feel like, if given the proper blocking, can actually do something with the ball in his hands. But that's all I got on special teams, unless you want to add anything, Jay.
I'm just going to comment, I guess, on a couple of the things you already commented on, just give my 2 cents. I like Tremon Smith because he's got pop. I know it sounds like a funny thing to say, like, oh, well, it's not just speed, but, like, he finished through the tackler. And if he gets a couple of blocks, he feels and looks like a guy, like, honestly, even the ones where he only ran for 5 yards, when he got it and started running, I thought, oh, boy, he can really, he made a move, and then he gets tackled. But he is a guy that, when I first saw him today, and every time I saw him touch a return, I got an exciting feeling I don't normally get in my gut that, boy, he might take this one to the house. Like, he's got that feel to him, and I can't say that I felt that about Trevor Davis or – like Davis, I would get excited once he started crossing like the 30 or 40-yard line. You know what I mean? Like, Smith gives me this feel. After I watched him return the first one, he gave me that feel that he's got the ability. If he gets a block or two, he's like Delvin Cook in that way, like, he gone. And so I like that.
He's got better acceleration. That's why.
Yes. And he will finish through a guy for an extra yard or two, which – let's be real, dude. If you're kicking a game-winning field goal, 3 yards can mean a lot. So I like finishing through instead of, well, I'm a punt returner and I'm shifty, but when I get hit, I'm going to go backwards and I'm going to hope the ball doesn't fly out of my hands while I'm getting my ass knocked backwards. So I like seeing that. The block punt, that's coaching, dude. Like, that's pressure up the middle. Even Romo said it, like, no special team player, even though they're not great, no special team player. Like, that's the biggest no-no on special teams is letting somebody come free up the middle. Like, and that's what happened. That's being ill-prepared or something else. It just is what it is. And look, I had them losing last week and losing this week in my initial pregame prediction. Week 8, 2-3. That's why I went from 11-5 to 12-4 because they won last week. But it didn't mean that I thought they were going to win this week. In fact, I picked them to lose 24-21. And I told everybody this was going to be a game where the score was going to be because they had to come back because they didn't get going fast enough. But they didn't even get it going at all today, like, to make a comeback really. So it ended up being more lopsided than I thought. But like, I normally probably in the past wouldn't have been able to do a podcast like this without cussing and being pissed when a game like this, but like I was just prepared. I've been prepared all season. This does not change how I feel about this team. We are analyzing the game, but my big picture, I'm not moving off my spot. This is exactly what I thought was going to happen before we played this game. It's what I thought was going to happen in the matchup show. I'm not moving off my spot. I'm not that concerned. I'm analyzing this game. We're nitpicking and stuff, but I want people out there listening and Packer Nation, don't drink the Kool-Aid through the next week. It means, and I don't mean for it to sound like this, but it's just the only way I can think of to try to keep people calm in fan world. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. This means nothing. If the LA game we want to win, the West Coast game we need to win, where we don't want this game, happens week 12 in San Fran. Okay?
Yep.
This isn't a conference game. This isn't a division game. It really means shit. It means butt kiss.
Yep. Throw this tape out the window, move on. I mean, that's really all you can look at it. Like you said, I was pretty prepared mentally, and this is before the game started. I just, problem with me is I think all these things, but I'm just too damn busy or I'm lazy, and I don't want to tweet everything that I'm always thinking about. I knew this game.
Ditto there, brother. Ditto there. That's why Dave is the tweeter.
Yeah, I just don't have time. I don't have time. I hate tweeting as it is. I just do it because it's, it's fun when I have the time and I'm looking for some time to kill. But for the most part, I just don't tweet everything out there that's on my mind. But this was, like you said, this was a game that I knew was going to be tougher and that I could see us lose. And no, that's not me being negative or me thinking that our team sucks or anything like that. It's just, this is one of those games where I had that gut where this was going to happen because of multiple things that I laid out earlier on this show. I just felt like the right things were coming together for the Chargers, and this was a team that needed to win more than the Packers did at this point in the season. It just is. It is what it is. But doesn't mean that the Packers are now all of a sudden bad, even though that's, like you said earlier, national media, well, not just national, local media, people on Twitter that are Packer fans, they're all going to jump on this team after this loss. I'm sure it's already happening right now. I haven't been on Twitter for the last hour and a half or so since we jumped on here. But, I'm not going to blast this team. There's things that they got to work on actually, and actually improve upon. And we've laid those things out. A lot of it is around coaching. A lot of it is around putting your personnel and your players in positions to succeed. There's going to be some, I'm sure, tendencies that they need to start thinking about breaking when it comes to both offense and defense. And, that's going to come from self-scouting. We haven't had our bye yet, so, I'm sure they'll hopefully take care of a lot of those things in a couple of weeks. But, I'm fine. I'm calm. I'm not going to rant. Like you said, you're not going to rant because this is one of those games where I'm already moving forward. Like I'm moving on to the next game. So let's move on. You've got a question there, right? I think someone reached out and was asking something.
It was our very own, our friend of our family member, Mr. Busby, and he had a question for us. He said, with Kyle, and this is about next week, actually. It says, with Kyle Allen being much more inexperienced than Phillip Rivers, do you expect a more exotic look next week in the effort to confuse the young quarterback? And I think that's kind of a good question. He must have been listening because it's kind of what we were talking about, what was wrong with this week. That entails a lot more man coverages, twists, and stunts, which I saw none of. It felt like they had a complete zone scheme here this week, and I felt like it, just like the offense, I felt like this. You know what? This is going to be my funny statement for the show, Ryan. I said it in week 4, and I felt like it happened again. I want Scooby-Doo and the crew to come and investigate that. I want to know if Mike McCarthy and Dom Capers snuck their ass into the building, kidnapped frickin' Pettine and LaFleur, put on some masks, and went out there and coached the game. Because that's what that shit looked like tonight. That's on both sides of the ball. Both our losses have that in common, where freaking Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Machine needs to come to Green Bay and investigate the freaking great coaching heist